And look at the caliber opponents that have stopped Vargas. It's Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, and now you got 16-0, young, up-and-coming Vergil Ortiz. He's special.
Welcome to Jabs on Dazn. Sergio, you were back ringside, calling your first fight in months. How was the experience?
It was amazing to be back. It was a unique experience because it was like a painful symphony of punches. You can hear every punch. It was beautiful to be back. But the best part was I was 20 or 30 feet away from Todd Grisham. It was perfect.
We start with Vergil Ortiz's dominant win over Samuel Vargas. Ortiz stopped the veteran Vargas in the 7th round for his 16th consecutive knockout, a solid win from the 22-year-old as he continues to stack his resume at welterweight. Sergio, you called this fight. What was your reaction to Ortiz's win?
It was a great reaction. Like every single time I watch him, I watch him just get more patient and more violent and more disciplined. And this time I got to see it with another trainer in his corner, his father. Usually we're giving a lot of credit to Robert Garcia, as we should, but now we see that this kid is disciplined, fighting behind the jab, listening to instructions. He tried to take out Vargas in the 6th round. The father kind of admonished him, saying, you're throwing too many right hands, and then he listened to the advice. So that's the main thing I took away from here, that he's willing to listen to the advice, maintain the discipline, and still get the knockout 1 round later in the 7th.
I mean, this fight went kind of like I expected. Vargas was a little tougher than I thought. He hung in there. He took a lot of punishment over 7 rounds, but ultimately, Vergil Ortiz was never really threatened in this fight. It just took him longer and more punches to stop Vargas. One thing I thought was interesting, and maybe you picked up on it, but there were times that Vargas, was moving forward and was backing Ortiz up. And I did wonder, how would Vergil Ortiz handle that situation against a bigger puncher? Vargas was tough, but there really wasn't a lot on those punches coming back at Ortiz. I'm looking forward in the future to seeing Ortiz fight guys with harder hands, that are bigger body punchers, just can really make an impact on you when they throw punches, or at least more of an impact than Samuel Vargas had. That was the question. Ortiz was backing up, and he was fighting off his back foot a little bit, but I want to see what happens when he gets hit by something that has real oomph behind it.
This kid has 16 fights, Chris Mannix. Look at the greatest fighters' resume at 16 fights. They're not going to have Ortiz's resume at this point. What he's doing is special. It's gifted. It's ahead of his time. And now he's finishing these tough fighters that have never been stopped. Vargas has been stopped before, but the 3 prior to that, it's impressive. You just got to give this kid the just due, but you won't do it. I mean, I give him an applause for his last 4 performances. This kid is on his way to be something special.
All right, I was trying to be nice for a minute there, but that's a predictably dumb argument. I'm not giving him credit and not saying that he doesn't deserve all the praise. I'm just not slobbering all over Samuel Vargas in the way that you were. Vargas is a tough guy, but you're talking out of both sides of your mouth there, saying he hasn't been stopped. Oh, he has been stopped. Yes, he has been stopped by good fighters twice in his career. Vergil Ortiz makes the 3rd really good fighter to stop Samuel Vargas. So it's not like he did something unprecedented. I believe in Vergil Ortiz. I think Vergil Ortiz is a star, but I think in his progression, he has to face a bigger puncher. He has to face someone like a Thomas Delorme or someone with that type of resume before I believe he's going to be ready for the Keith Thurmans or the Errol Spences or the Sean Porters, the upper echelon of fighters. He needs to fight someone that hits hard back.
Every fighter you just mentioned, look at their resume, who they fought in their 16th fight, and it's not going to be at the same caliber, at the same par as Vergil Ortiz. And look at the caliber opponents that have stopped Vargas. It's Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, and now you got 16-0, young, up-and-coming Vergil Ortiz. He's special.
I think he's special too. I think there's a bridge, though. There's a bridge between where Vergil Ortiz is now to where he wants to be, and that bridge is a fighter like Delorme or a B-level puncher that will at least threaten him physically when he's in the ring. Moving on to Canelo Alvarez and his ongoing struggles to secure an opponent. Canelo's lawyer, Greg Smith, insisted over the weekend that Canelo is ready to go, telling ESPN Canelo is in great shape, he has been training hard, and he is absolutely ready and on track to fight in September. If it's up to him, and only him, he would have already announced the fight. There's obviously other parties and other things involved that are out of his control, but everything he can control, he's on track and prepared. Sergio, what do you make of the problems Canelo has had with securing an opponent?
Come on, Mannix, you know the problem here. It's money. Everyone's supposed to take a little bit less money because of this pandemic, including Canelo, including whoever's Canelo's going to fight. That's the problem here. Why should Canelo, the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world, promote a fight that's not set yet? I got to give him credit for that as a fighter. As a promoter, as a network, as a fans, it's frustrating. I get it. But this is two things. It's boxing and it's business, and they're separate. Right now, the boxer's taking care of business, and he's not going to announce a fight yet. It's probably already made behind closed doors, but he's not going to announce it yet until the name is on the contract and the money is secured.
Well, it's not made behind closed doors, and that's part of the problem when it comes to Canelo. He can't announce anything because there's no deal to be made. The discussions with Callum Smith are still at an impasse. The discussions with Billy Joe Saunders are effectively off. And any thought of Turiano Johnson or Jason Quigley is simply not acceptable to Dazn, his broadcast partner. So, look, everyone during this pandemic has to take a little bit less money. For Canelo, that means X dollars. For Golden Boy, that means X dollars. It's just the way that it is. The problem right now is that Golden Boy, Canelo, and Dazn are at a financial impasse with all this. You can't expect to make $35+ million to fight a Turiano Johnson or Jason Quigley. If you want a Callum Smith, you have to pay him around $6 million. And that's not something that Golden Boy is willing to do at this point. So right now, they can't announce a fight because there is no fight. And that's not Canelo's fault or just Golden Boy's fault. It's everybody's fault right now.
There's been several of situations and examples like this where my fights weren't set, but they were almost set. There's only little barriers like weight or maybe money or maybe even the change of opponent, whatever. But there's always things that are lined up, and one little thing is holding things up. I think that's what's happening here, and that little thing is big. It's money.
It is money, and my 2 cents. If you're Canelo Alvarez and Golden Boy, you agree to take a little bit less. If you're Callum Smith and there really is a $5 million offer on the table, you jump at it. If you're Callum Smith, where are you going to make anywhere close to that in 2020 or even early 2021? I think Callum Smith is the best 168-pounder in the world. He only has one piece of that 4-piece title, but I think he is #1 in the super middleweight division. He goes in there, and if he beats Canelo Alvarez, there's a $10 or a $15 million payday on the table for him sometime in 2021. If you're Callum Smith and that $5 million is there, you jump on it. And if that's what it takes to make the fight for your Golden Boy, if you're Canelo, you make that happen too.
Go for the glory, not the paycheck. Do exactly what Andy Ruiz did. Chase the glory and you might just get it. Aim for the stars, man. Don't be aiming for anything less.
And finally, last week, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones announced they would be fighting in an 8-round exhibition on September 12th. While many were excited about watching these two go at it, California State Athletic Commission Executive Director Andy Foster told Boxing Scene, "We can't mislead the public as to this being some kind of real fight. They can get into it a little bit, but I don't want people to get hurt. They know the deal." Sergio, should we be interested in this fight?
Everyone's going to be interested, whether they admit it or not. It's Mike Tyson. Everyone has a fascinating story or a memory or a thought, whether it's good or bad, about Mike Tyson. I mean, look, I can tell you a couple of numbers. 007-373-5963. Does that ring a bell, Mannix?
No.
Mike Tyson's punch-out game, and back in the late 80s, straight to get Mike Tyson. You didn't play video games. Everyone has a memory, and that's mine. So yes, this is going to be very popular because Mike Tyson, he's something special. He's something that, even at 54 years old, still captures imagination. It's still fascinating that he can get in shape, hit a couple of pads, and he's going to sell $1 million in pay-per-view. It's mind-blowing, but that's Mike Tyson for you.
I don't believe they're going to sell 1 million pay-per-views. And what I would say to people that are considering buying it is, buyer beware. I mean, you're not going to get vintage Mike Tyson. I don't care what kind of physical shape that he's in. He's 54 years old. Roy Jones, a lot of people have been watching over the last 10 years as he has made his steady decline as a boxer. He's 51 years old. He hasn't fought in a couple of years. He's not going to be close to what he once was. And you throw in the added wrinkle that, as Andy Foster said, they're not going to allow these guys to fight like it's life or death, like they're fighting for something. There are instructions to the referee in this fight that if it gets a little bit too crazy, he is supposed to step in. So if you're buying this fight thinking you're going to see a fight between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, that these two greats are going to go at it in an instant classic, you are not going to get that. If you just want to see Mike Tyson sport a pair of trunks and Roy Jones lace him up again in a fight that would have been awesome 17 years ago, okay, throw down $60, $70, maybe $80 and go and watch that. But if you're looking to see a classic fight, this is not something you want to watch. Go back and watch old Tyson fights on YouTube. Go back and watch old Roy Jones fights on YouTube and save yourself the money.
Okay, Chris Mannix, you didn't play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out in the late 80s, but did you go to a carnival? Did you ever go to a carnival act? That's what this is, a one-man carnival act, and boxing is a sideshow. You're going to pay admission, whether it's P.T. Barnum promoting this fight or anyone else. You're going to pay, I'm going to pay. And speaking of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, anyone tell you look like Little Mac?
Yeah, well, if they made the new version of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, you would be Glass Joe.
I knew that was coming. Good one.